right. He should be joining us any second. There we go.
Good to see you. For
All
some reason,
right.
I thought I was hosting the live, so I started a live myself, but here we are.
Oh, okay. Shoot. Well, I guess we didn't communicate that. Cool. I'm glad that we figured it out then.
Good to be here.
Yeah, I will add you as a collaborator so we will both have access
Oh,
to this after we're done. Yeah.
perfect.
Cool. Well, yeah, I already shared a little bit in the beginning how we got into this conversation. We were having a conversation in chat about just an example of a sales method that felt a little funny to us, and the conversation kind of kept going. And I thought, what if we talk about this on live for other folks to listen? So I'm excited for this conversation, and have a few questions that I'm thinking that we'll answer together. The first one is why not use hard selling methods when we know that hard selling works? And then also, what is hard selling versus not selling, and then some practical tips. So that's what we'll be talking about. Anything that you want to say just to get us started?
Yeah, I would love anyone who's watching this, if you have had any experiences of being on the receiving end of hard selling, or you've been taught or told you have to do a certain approach that felt off, that felt too aggressive or too pushy, please put that in the comments because that'd be good for us to riff off of in this call. So yeah, that's all I would say. But so where should we start? What's the very first question?
Yeah, so why not use hard selling when we know that hard selling works?
Okay,
Yours.
yeah, that's a real short, simple answer on my end. Is we have to question what we mean by works. What the hard selling tactics can do fairly successfully is get people to buy in the moment. What they do not do is they don't get people to be loyal. They'll get people to purchase in a room full of people, and then those people, 90% of them will go get a refund afterwards. So if all you want is the short-term hit, you can get that with these tactics. But if your goal is to build a business long term, not only do these not work, they will backfire and blow up in your face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, love that. Yeah, cool. I have a couple of other ones that I wrote down that I was thinking as well.
Mhm.
I think that that's so true. The other thing is like there's something about building trust that also that like there's the long-term longevity aspect of our business. And when we're focused on like my sense, and I don't have hard data on this, but that when we don't use the hard selling methods, we have, because we're building more trust and respect, it leads to maybe less sales in the short run, but more people who are dedicated and loyal, which leads to more word of mouth, more
Oh
community
yeah.
building in your business, as opposed to just constantly having to find new people who don't know you. People will start spreading the word for you. People will be saying like, okay, this is someone that I really respect, that I really care about. And so when we want our clients to be feeling that way about us, pressuring them into a sale doesn't tend to help create that kind of experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And if we, to me, marketing is about really, it's number one, we get their attention. Number two, we establish if there's a fit. Number three, we lower the risk of them taking the first step. To me, those are the three roles of marketing. And this thing about filtering is so huge because if we don't do the filtering thing, then that's what we're left with, is having to use these high pressure tactics. It's like a soil with no microbes in it. You've got to just push it to yield anything. But while you're doing it, you're killing the soil in the process.
Mm.
The filtering is where the goodwill comes from. Is they sense that your agenda is to get to the truth of, is this a fit or not the agenda being to get the sale. And the reason that so many people don't do the filtering is they've never done the niching work. They've never thought about, who's my ideal client, who do I want to work with. So they take anybody, and of course, because they take anybody, they get patchy results. It's kind of inconsistent. Because they get patchy results, they get bad word of mouth, which means they're then constantly on the treadmill of getting new clients. Versus they pick a niche, they really articulate their point of view. People come to them because they can already see it's a fit. They get great results with those people because they're the best people to work with. And then eventually, this is where you get to in businesses, it's pretty much all word of mouth. I mean, we can think of restaurants, you know, they just have a wait list because the word of mouth eventually, it took years, but the word of mouth is so strong, and it's always a wait list. It's always a line out the door. And it can be this way with our businesses too. But if you do the high pressure sales, what you are unintentionally confessing to is that you don't know if this person is a fit. You probably haven't done that work, and now you're trying to put a round peg in a square hole, and it's no good. They're not going to have a good experience, and they're going to bitch about it later. It's short-term profit, long-term disaster.
Yeah. Hmm. Love that. I love that analogy, and I think that I like how you brought up the idea of filtering. Um, that's something that for me, when I first started learning marketing, and I was in a big program for coaches, learning much of the standard approach with more of a hard selling method, I would say there was some heart based aspects of it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it was later when I really got the idea of the importance of filtering people out. Like, so much of marketing, we're thinking of end sales, we're thinking of like, okay, how can we reach the most people, and then how can we get the most of those people to convert into the next step, and then the most of those people to convert into the next step, and then the most of those people to convert into a sale in like a standard funnel model.
Yeah.
But when we're not doing anything to filter people out, like our mind, like our thinking is just, okay, how do I get the most? How do I get the most? Then then yeah, we end up with a lot more people that we have to push into the sale, which can look like a lot of money in the short run. But then, like you said, you end up with people who are less satisfied with you. And the other side of that is like people, I mean, like I just had a conversation with someone the other day. I do a lot of research interviews with coaches, and she said that she had signed up for a program who did a very hard selling method, like on a call where they were like, "Hey, you have to sign up right now, or you're going to miss out." And she was anxious and about it, and she signed up, and then she didn't take that long, and she realized it was not the right place for her, and she left, and now she feels bitter and unhappy about the whole interaction. So I think I think that's very common with hard selling. But the other side of that is this is the last thing that I wrote down for why not to do hard selling, is that it can be very stressful on us. Like, if you're the type of person who is sensitive and who cares about people and who really cares about their clients and wants to have good relationships with their clients, if you're using a lot of hard selling methods and you're losing sleep over it, you're feeling anxious about it, that's not going to help your overall business goals. It's not going to help you in the long run. And I mean, is some short-term cash really even worth it if you're feeling anxious and stressed out and not enjoying your business in the first
No,
place?
if you enjoy sleeping through the night, I don't recommend hard selling. It's hard to sleep knowing what you're doing to people. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Cool. Well, the next question is, how do we define, like, what's the difference between hard selling and more considerate forms of selling?
Yeah, I'd be curious your take on this.
Sure. Yeah, I can go first. I so like there, I see it in a couple of layers. Like, there's one layer which has to do with our intention behind it. So hard selling, if our intention and our focus is really on like, how can I get them to buy my thing, um, and it's just getting their money, then I feel like that's what leads us towards doing more hard selling tactics. That's what leads us to potentially even unconsciously doing manipulative things in just what we might be saying to them, because we're so focused on just trying to get the sale. Whereas the alternative to that is caring about the person, is
Mhm.
having our focus be like, can we actually help this person? Is it going to feel like a good fit for us both as we do the work together? And so that's the first part of it, is just is the intention behind it. You have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, amen, basically. I think that's almost all of it.
Yeah.
I had one colleague, she wrote a book, another colleague of mine recommended, so, oh, you might be able to promote her. So I thought, oh, I'll read the book. So I read her book, and there was some stuff I liked, and there was some stuff I had issues with. And so I talked with her because I thought, well, maybe I'll still promote her. And I let her know. I said, here's the places in your book where I think you're recommending manipulation. And it led to a conversation where she said, well, I agree with you, manipulation is bad. But I think there's a dark side of the force and a light side of the force in marketing. And I said, okay, well, that's interesting. I said, how do you define the difference between the two? And I thought she was going to say basically what you just said. But she said, well, the dark side of the force is where you use people's pain. You stick in the knife, you twist around, you punch the bruise. And the light side of the force is where you talk to the possibilities and you talk about the vision and the goals and the results. And I said to her, I said, do you not imagine that people's hopes and aspirations couldn't be weaponized against them? Do you not imagine that you can manipulate people just as easily with you deserve? And, uh, you're entitled to this. And don't you want a more attractive spouse? Or like, I don't know, whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah,
And
totally.
so it shocked me. It really shocked me that and I told her basically what you told us there about the difference of intention. And she was, of course, resistant because she'd just written a whole book and seemed to have based a lot of her thinking on this, and
Yeah,
so couldn't readjust. But it's certainly not that to me.
yeah.
The Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'm so with you. One of the things that I talk about a lot whenever, like, the idea of pain points, I hear that often, and I think it's coming from a good place. I think people have this idea that, like, pain points are bad, focusing on the positive is good. Um, but sorry, I got a distraction on my phone. But yeah, no, I mean, I think it's not like pain. Like, I mean, I don't like the term pain points, but the way that I think of pain points when pain points are done well is it's essentially empathy.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
you're letting the person know, like, hey, I get it. I understand what you're going through. And I feel like that's a really important part of marketing. That's like a key aspect of intentional.
So we
Sorry about
lost you
that.
there. You said it's
I
a
think I
key
blanked
part of
out
it.
there for a second.
Yeah, you said it's a key part of intentional.
Yeah, empathy. And so, yeah, I'm so with you. Like, I think the pain and the um the excitement, what you're going for, can also be used in both helpful ways and manipulative ways. And to me, like that kind of gets to what I see as some of the, like, more concrete things that I would say are the more kind of, not necessarily hard selling, but like unethical selling, is any time where you're getting into where you're starting to question, like, is what I'm saying even true?
Right.
Which I think is really where it gets into. If you're focusing on the positive, you can really start leaning into areas where you're getting beyond what you feel like is actually true, where you're just telling people exactly what you think that they want to hear, or you're making them believe that the outcome of working with you is something much grander than what you're actually helping people achieve, because you just know that that's what they want, but it's not actually aligned. And that's where I feel like you can really get off the rails, where, yeah, you're still focusing on the positive, focusing on what they want. Any thoughts on that?
Oh, you're just ouch. That was me when I was 18. I
Yeah,
did, I did that so much. I could tell what they wanted. So I was like, oh, you have to come to this. I was promoting some leadership seminars. I'm like, oh, this
yeah,
seminar will give you exactly that. And as I was saying it, I didn't believe it, but I felt like I had to sell. I just needed to say whatever I needed to say to get them in the room. And it's just, oh, it's so painful to look back. But yes, I agree that the pain points, people are in pain. And what are we going to do? Ignore that? We're going to pretend it's not there? If somebody has the worst stomach cramps they've ever had in their life, and you walk up to them and you say, would you like to feel just radiantly healthy? just a flowing energy in your body, the appropriate response from them is to tell you to go fuck yourself. You know, they're not there. It's good to remember sometimes the absence of pain, the pain going away, is the result.
Yeah.
That's what they're craving. And so that's what empathy looks like. Empathy doesn't look like trying to convince them of some grand vision. Empathy can look like, you're really hurting. Okay, let's see what we can do to get rid of the hurt. But you have to acknowledge it first. And sometimes there just is no grand vision for people. Sometimes there's no real result other than getting out of pain. And so then if you're not willing to speak about the pain honestly, how are you going to speak to them? You know, then there's just no way around it. Yeah, pain is not the enemy, but exploiting pain is. You know, I think
Yeah.
there's two archetypes that people can get into. One is the predator and one's the protector. And it's very much what you're saying about this agenda. The predator sees a weakness, and they both see weakness, which is interesting. They both have a real keen capacity to see weakness where it is, but the predator takes advantage of the weakness, whereas the protector says, "Oh, you're vulnerable. I better stand in and protect you. I got to make sure you're safe." And so the predator and protector both see pain, they both see weakness, they both see vulnerability, but they respond to it differently.
Yeah, love that. That's great. Yeah, so true. So true. And so yeah, that's a great question, I think. Are we being a predator or a protector in the way that we market, in the way that our energy is? Yeah, and it can get tricky. Like this is something that I've been writing about lately, because I've been thinking about it, is like, part of what I think makes us like I think that we all can be susceptible to becoming the predator. Like we're all susceptible to wanting to learn these methods that are going to increase sales, that are going to increase our money. And it's only natural, because money is important. Like, even if we don't if we philosophically don't believe in money or something, we still need it. If we're going to live in this world, there's a strong need for most people, unless you have a very special lifestyle. And so it's understandable. And so something that I like to do, the way I like to think of it is like, it is to really get good at acknowledging these different aspects of ourselves and understanding, like, okay, there is an aspect of ourselves that needs things, that like we need money, we need our business to do well. But that's not the part of us that should be showing up to a call. Like, that's not the part of us that should be having a sales call, that should be trying to sell, because that part of us, like that's the part of us that I think can help us when we're brainstorming our overall business strategy, when we're learning things. Like, we can really use that part of us that's needy, that's for ourselves, because it is important to take care of ourselves. But when we're actually interacting with our potential clients, that's when we want to bring that more compassionate part of ourselves forward, or the healer. Because that other part of ourselves is going to be too inclined to want to be manipulative.
Yeah, and it's, and to that part of everyone, I would say, that's desperate. It's like, but I need the money, and oh God, I got to pay my bills and rent and all this. I would say, okay, it's true. You need sales. One immediate distinction to make is that you need people to buy. True. You don't need this person to buy, to let go of it in the specific. You don't need this particular person to buy. You just need people to buy. So then what becomes critical, in this sort of sales funnel analogy, is it's not get everybody in and push as many people through as possible. It's first get really clear who you're trying to reach. Get really clear what you're offering. Where do you find the people that would be into that? Get in front of those people. That's the first mistake that people make. They go to random business mixers. They go to random networking events. They do this kind of cold marketing, and they get in a bunch of people who are almost certainly never a fit, rather than saying, okay, who do I want to reach? Where are those people? Going there, standing in front of them. And where you've got the best odds, your odds are great with this crowd. And then you start eliminating them. Your goal when you're standing at the front of a room like that is not to seduce them in. You're saying, look, I do this thing. It's clearly relevant to you all because you're here. Not that you'd say that, but you just know that. So let's say you teach door-to-door salespeople how to sell their stuff, and oh, look at that, there's a conference for door-to-door salespeople. I mean, clearly that's where you want to do a presentation. But when you do that presentation, you do not get up to the front of the room and say, here's my course and here's why you should buy. You say, look, let me be clear about who I work with, who I don't, who these tools are good for and who they're not. You
Yeah.
start eliminating. It's like the headline of a sales letter. That's not there to get people to read on. It's there to eliminate almost everybody.
Right.
And then what's the subheadline? To eliminate 90% of the rest of the people, and on and on and on, until at the end of the sales letter, there's only a few people left standing, but they're perfect. They couldn't be more excited. And those people will then become the source of further clients. Part of the other reason we hard sell is because we don't know any other way to get clients than this cold approach or just stepping in front of new people. But the way you ultimately long-term get clients is you develop a reputation, you set up very strong referral systems, and you encourage word of mouth from your existing clients. That's how it actually works. But if you don't have any of that back end stuff thought through, you are left with having to generate it all yourself, which is exhausting. So then you want the shortcuts, and so then you're willing to do the hard selling. But we're terrible at marketing ourselves. That's just something to accept. Human beings are bad at marketing themselves, period. There are some people that are really great at just shamelessly plugging themselves all over the place, and they're called psychopaths. So for most real humans, we're not good at it. But who's great at marketing us? Our clients.
Yeah.
Other people are good at marketing us, just like our superpower is marketing. We're all so good at promoting other people. So instead of fighting that and trying to get over that, no, it's a limiting belief that I'm not good at marketing myself. No, all this cold marketing, warm marketing, where you get in front of crowds and you speak, all of that is really, in my mind, just to prime the pump. And once the pump is going, your people are doing almost all the marketing for you. But that you only get there if you have a clear niche, a clear point of view, a good business model that people can get into. So there's so much foundational work that needs to be done first.
Yeah. Love it. We didn't check in before we started. What time do you have to go? Curious how much time we got.
I got another 10.
10 minutes? Okay. Yeah, totally. All right. So here's something like when I think of hard selling, just to get into the practical element of it, like there's the mindset of it. But like when I think of hard selling, the thing that comes to mind the most is when people are using some form of artificial urgency.
Sure.
They're saying you need to sign up right now. I'm going to give you all of these bonuses, or this offer in total is going to go away. Like you have to basically, like some version of, you have to sign up right now. This is your only opportunity. And then, and in the cases where I feel like this is, like gets extreme, and people do this, is when, which I feel is really common, is something along the lines of like, here, I'm going to offer you a free coaching session. Like, come get on a call with me. It's totally free. I'm going to coach you for free. I'm going to give you all of this value. And then at the end of the call, they go straight into this hard sell where they're like, oh, so now here's my thing. Here's how I can help you with all those things we talked about. And you have to sign up right now or you're going to miss out on everything. And they're just like, oh my, like, whoa, I didn't even know we were having a sales call. You said this was a free thing. So not only was there some deception there, but in general, it's just like that element of the hard sell. Like, you need to sign up right now or you're going to miss out. There's so many examples of this. In webinars, it's commonly used in launch formulas. It's like the end of the launch formula is that there's an open and close. And it's not that there isn't always, times where it makes sense to have a natural ending point of a thing. Like if you're going to offer a course or something that has a natural start and stop, but it's when people artificially pump that up that I feel like really gets into the hard selling. That does work. It uses it. Yeah. There's psychology behind it. It gets people anxious. It gets people feeling like they need to buy. And so it can be tempting to use that as a method. And yeah, so just wanted to name that. I'm curious what your thoughts on that are.
Right. So it's this question of scarcity. What do we do about the scarcity thing in marketing? Because, um, most of us are, we're last minute people. Every town I go to, they say, well, the thing about the workshops in this town, we're a real last minute town. No, humans are a last minute species, and that's it. And we're last minute because something else might come up. But if there's only so many spaces in a thing, well, then we're okay. I don't want to miss out on this, so I'm going to sign up. I'll get my ticket because I can't just show up at the door. But yeah, I mean, if you could just show up at the door, why commit in advance? Like, I actually don't see a reason to commit in advance to something if you could just show up the day of. Genuinely, something better might show up. I think that's the smarter thing to do. Wait.
Right.
And then, but of course, if you're the one running the event, this is immensely stressful. So, yeah, I mean, you sort of already said it. The big distinction here is there real scarcity or is this manufactured scarcity? If somebody says only 3 copies of this ebook, what? Unless you've got a real good reason that makes sense to only release 3, then this is contrived. But let's just say, so I started a project in Edmonton called Streetcar Shows. I think the website's still up, streetcarshows.com or .ca, and we got a 100-year-old streetcar, like this vintage wooden streetcar, and it goes across the high-level bridge and park in the middle, and we do a concert. We get a local musician to play, and it's just so romantic. I mean, it's just a sunset over a bridge that's 150 feet over the river in the river valley, and then we go to the other side, take a break, we come back, there's another show, same artist, they do the second half, and we go back through the tunnel. And in this tunnel, it's this dark, it gets pitch black. We would stop the streetcar, turn off the engine, turn off the lights, and there'd be one more song called the Tunnel Song. And anyways, you can imagine the word of mouth on this thing. It was a perfect date. It was 2 seaters, 2 seats on each side, but there's 32 seats. We had an email list promoting this. Originally, I was just texting people. We had an email list, and people would email us complaining, saying, I've been on this email list for 3 years and I've never gotten a ticket. Why? Because it sold out like this. So we actually had to say no more people on the email list. It's like, how do I get on the list? You can't. Just out of respect for the people who've been. So that's real scarcity. There's 32 seats. Maybe we do 10 shows a summer, and that's it. So there is such a thing as real scarcity. It's just when it is contrived, when it's manufactured, that's the unethical part of it. And this happened, man, quick story. Had some colleagues. I was in Winnipeg. I just did my first workshops there. I killed it. It was so good. I was like a little mini celebrity for this week. And my colleagues were in Saskatchewan. And I said, hey, you should come to Winnipeg. You should drive over because I could promote your workshop. They helped holistic practitioners build WordPress websites. I said, I can pack this thing for you. They said, great. And they came. A month later, my friend Jeff Golfman, who hosted me in Winnipeg, is driving me from Toronto to Guelph. And he's like, so I wanted to wait to be in person to tell you this. And immediately I'm just, He said, but that workshop didn't go well. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, actually the workshop went well, but it got to the pitch. And when it got to the pitch, here's the price of our package. And they wrote down a price that they've probably actually never charged. So that's more bullshit than the high pressure thing. Here's the price. Talk about it some more, build up the value. But today they cross it out. They write a much lower price. And then his wife, apparently, I wasn't there, but apparently in the most contrived way, it was like, honey, I really like these people. Can't we give them a better deal? And he takes out a different color marker, as he's been taught, crosses that out, puts a different price. And then he said, and this is only good for the next 5 hours. And people had just been through all my stuff about how not to do that. Anyways, I lost so much trust with the people because I'd promoted these folks. So this is part of the other thing to consider of why not to do the high pressure sales thing. You piss people off. And if you're brought in by somebody, they will lose status and credibility and they'll never want to host you again. I talked to these colleagues. I said, I need an apology from you to my people. They refused. I've never talked to them since.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a great example. And I'll say that's the exact method that I was taught to use in a program that I was in a while ago. It was essentially that. It wasn't 3 crossing the thing out, but it was definitely like, here's my price. Here's my price if you sign up today, plus you get these bonuses. I did try some of that. I used to teach nonviolent communication, was a major part of my business years ago. And I was doing it in nonviolent communication trainings where I was like, I'd offer a free training, and then I was like, here, sign up for this weekend, and here's the price, and here's the new price, and here's sign up right now or you're gonna miss out. Um, and that's what I was told to do. So I thought that's that's what I should do. Okay, I guess I'll do this. I'll get more sales. And I did get some sales, and I wouldn't say it had this like dramatic extreme result, but I also had people, like I had one woman who was a big fan of mine, and she was in my programs, but she was like, I brought someone to one of your intros, and they left, and they were disgusted by it, and she's like, I feel too embarrassed to ever bring anyone to one of your intros again. And when I first started doing it, I even felt it. Like I felt like I was like, all right, well, I guess I have this compassionate side of me that's teaching this like very, open and safe method. And then I have this marketer side of me that is more hardcore. And I'm gonna like let this. I'm gonna be both of these parts, and I'll be this hardcore guy, and then I'll be this like compassionate guy at some points. And I just realized like that's not how I want to be. Like I want my marketing to feel safe in the same way that my programs do. I don't want people coming to me telling me like I felt embarrassed that I brought my friends to your intro.
You're singing my song, man. I've been there. It's
Yeah,
so painful to hear it. It's so, because when that happens, there's a kind of two choices we have. One is we have to let that feedback actually affect us and
right.
take it in, or we have to say, no, they're wrong, I'm
Yeah,
right. And then we have to
yeah,
start to rationalize it and
yeah,
justify it. And in doing so, the only way to do this is we have to numb ourselves out. We have to become
yeah,
less sensitive, because otherwise that feedback will affect us.
yeah,
And that lack of sensitivity also makes us less sensitive we can't read the room as well. And so since we can't read the room as well, we're not going to market as well, we're not going to pick up on the cues. And then you take this, as you've rightly pointed out, the worst example of this urgency in action. To me, it's not the group program, it's the one-on-one. It's you get on a call with somebody, and all of a sudden you thought it was just a free coaching session, now you're in
yeah,
the middle of a big pitch. It's so incredibly uncomfortable to be in that position of receiving the pitch, because you're like, I like this person, I just got something really helpful for them, and now they're doing this thing, and I don't want to be mean to them, but I'm also not feeling comfortable, and so how do I get off this call without? And
yeah,
it's, but where does that come from? It comes from this agenda to get them to buy at the end. And if instead you just have an agenda to get to the truth, then you can say, okay, well, that if you do it in just one session, and there's an argument to do this over multiple, conversations, but you could say, look, I don't know if this is a fit. And even just that phrasing, to get practical, it's
yeah,
not, I'm not pulling that out of the air. It's like, I don't know if this is a fit, but I've got this thing. When I think about you being in it, I'm really excited. But anyways, I'd love to share it. We can talk about it. Again, I don't know if this is a good match for where you're at right now. I think it might be, but let me know. And then
yeah,
you just share with them. And then you're in a conversation to really see, is this going to be the best thing for them right then? And then when objections come up, but I don't know if I could afford it, you can say, well, um, are you open to brainstorming? Maybe there's ways we could figure out that this could work. I mean, there's payment plans, but there may also be ways to finance it or fundraise, and no pressure. But if you're open, and then they may say, yeah, actually, I would love to. I mean, I really want to do this. It's like, yeah, well, I've helped clients before, and then because they don't, people are so willing to be vulnerable and open if they don't feel like you're being a predator.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Love that. Yeah, and I know we need to wrap up, but I just want to end because you reminded me of something that I think is super important to say in this conversation, is that not using hard selling and being more ethical. I think that there is also a way where people maybe take that too far, and then maybe not too far, but you get the idea that ethical selling is being extremely passive,
Uh,
like oh, I'm just going to completely sit back and I'm going to let them take the lead, um, and and the reality is like the examples that you gave is a lot of the way that I see it as well. It's like there's nothing wrong with asking people questions, you know.
Totally.
There's nothing wrong with just saying like hey, like, yeah, I don't know if this is a good fit, but you know, are you interested in having a conversation about this? um, and that I feel like is one of the areas that I find with a lot of clients that I work with who are more of the realm of like, I don't want to come across as salesy. They can feel kind of uncomfortable even with asking those questions. And I kind of see it as it's similar to like asking someone out on a date. You know, asking someone out on a date is scary. It's naturally
Totally.
scary to say like, would you like to go out on a date with me? But asking is not the same thing as being pushy. You know, asking someone out on a date is not the same thing as like aggressively trying to make someone go out on a date with you. And that's the same way that I see it with sales is like we can ask the questions. We can see if they want to have a conversation. We could ask them if they're interested in signing up for the thing without it being this pushy thing where it's like, okay, so you have to do it, or if you don't do it,
Right.
like, you know, I'm never going to talk to you again. You know, like that's kind of like the dating realm. But you know, people do that in sales. So
Well,
there's nothing wrong with asking.
and as somebody who's had a lot of experience on the dating front, it's I was so terrified that if I expressed interest in a woman, I'd get slapped. And then I realized it wasn't true. The
Yeah.
women were so, I mean, and it's amazing too how women would sometimes date date you in spite of your game, not because of it. Like
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, he's so sweet. He's trying so hard." But yeah, I didn't get slapped. Women were so kind,
Yeah.
and it's so true with customers too. If you're just willing to be honest and say, "Look, you know," and it's on one level you're saying you can be passive, and people think, "Oh, that's what heart-based selling is, being passive." On the other side, you're being
Yeah.
aggressive. But how about just
Right.
being honest? How about just being curious and
Yeah.
just coming from this place of I don't know,
Yeah.
and letting go of the bullshit of you have to sell yourself before selling the other person, and just saying, "Look, I've got this thing. I think it might be a fit. I don't know. I like you. I like the thought of you being there. Are you
Yeah.
open to talk about it?" Or and you could even it can be shameless too. You can be like, "Can you give me 5 minutes to make this pitch? It's a good pitch. I think you might
Yeah.
like it. Just give me
Right.
5." And I don't know. Maybe it's a fit. Maybe it's not. And most people just like, "Yeah, okay.
Right.
Set, here's the timer. Start."
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you get to share it, but you're not sharing it out of a aggressive thing. It's a playful, like, I
Yeah.
don't know, we'll see. And then the chips fall where they may ultimately. And again, it's not that it's not important to be skillful and
Yeah.
that there aren't skills to have and how to have that conversation, but that would be true in dating too. There is such a thing as being a good conversationalist, and there is such a thing as a way of talking with somebody in a romantic context that's different than you would just with your buddies or your pals. And we don't always learn those things. So there's no shame in not knowing how to talk in a sales conversation. Um, and
Yeah.
somebody posted a comment here of, I can't read the whole thing here.
Yeah. So there's a couple of them. One person is asking us if we would do an Instagram live about reading the room, which I think is a great topic, and maybe
Yeah.
we'll talk about that. Maybe we'll do that together. Another one is what are you releasing? What are you releasing a new? A little bit of
Or
typos here, but
what if you're releasing a new program and you want to
okay.
keep it low price because it's new and you want to get rolling? Could it be authentic to say the next round will be a higher price? Yes.
Yeah.
100%. That's not contrived. I mean, if you don't raise the price on the next one and you never do, that's contrived. But
Right.
it's, of
Yeah.
course.
If you say every time I'm going to raise the price next time as part of your strategy, then you're outside of like honesty. Um, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
entirely.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Well, yeah, this was super fun conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. For me too.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. And I'm sure Jonah and I will both be doing Instagram lives moving in the future. Now, Jonah, if people want to reach you, how do they reach you? You're here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they reach me. I mean, I have my Instagram page, Jonah.Richman. Richman is RACHMAN. And I have my website, which is also just JonahRichman.com. So that's how you can find me. How about you?
Perfect. Just marketingforhippies.com and marketingforhippies on Instagram as well.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. All right, great. See you around. Bye, everyone.